Let's give everybody a chance. Anybody in Young Women's Division? You got a question?
It's very simple, but I can continue for 4 years, or 4 years. Although I try to talk with my family or my friends, but I always find a difficulty in doing something.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I want to know how I get over that feeling.
Can you just describe what you think that difficulty is? Shyness or?
Maybe like because of my character. I always in the end I feel difficulty in doing something.
Quite a sort of big question in a way, this, isn't it? Because there are so many answers, so many facets to it. But of course it's quite natural that we should feel shy often about talking to other people about the deepest parts of their lives, which religion concerns, and also about maybe their sufferings and all the rest of it. But Shakabuku must begin, like everything else, in front of the Gohonzon. That is to say, you must really chant the Shakabuku. That's the first point. It's no good thinking one can Shakabuku without chanting to be able to do so, or making sure that you're chanting plenty of Daimoku. Because Shakabuku should be natural. That is to say, through your Daimoku and your Ichinen to Shakabuku, to help people who are unhappy or suffering, you will actually attract such people to cross your path. So, through the principle of Esho Funi, you understand that whatever life state we're in, is reflected back on us by our environment. That means that the life link between us and everything, our environment, is very close. So, through your Ichinen to Shakabuku and your Daimoku, in order to be able to do so, that desire, which certainly Nichiren Daishonin said is only from the Buddha state, will go out into your environment, down those life links that exist between you and every single thing in that environment. So the truth is that your desire to Shakabuku from the depths of your heart and your Daimoku will activate the Buddha state in other things in your environment, in everything. Therefore, someone whose karma is ripe, right, their life is ready to receive the Gohonzon, will, in completely natural way, cross your path. And you'll find yourself talking about Buddhism with them, before you even know it. This is true Shakabuku. But it must arise to your Ichinen to do so. So your nervousness and your shyness, that's just all the work of the negative force of life, isn't it? Trying to disrupt that connection in the Buddha state between you and everything in your environment through the Shakabuku spirit. Do you see what I mean? So the important thing is to chant Daimoku in front of the Gohonzon and really say with your whole heart, I really want to Shakabuku. With your whole heart, believing that the Gohonzon will then bring the right person to you, or your paths will cross theirs. Do you see what I mean? So the trouble is, we find it difficult often in front of the Gohonzon to really say wholeheartedly, I want to Shakabuku. Because all the time in the negative part of your life is saying, yes, but I'm shy and I don't want to, and etc., etc. So we have to try and bust. You've got to say in your Daimoku, like to those devils, get out of my life. I just want a Shakabuku. And please, let me find the right people. So the battle, like everything else, the battle begins in front of the Gohonzon. That's where you win it. You've got to chant until that open-hearted desire to Shakabuku can be expressed, without all the inhibitions and anxieties. That point where you've brushed all those aside and you really just feel you want to do it. So, of course, all the time, shakabuku is difficult. Nichiren Daishonin said that, because in doing so, you do encounter the negative force of life. So one no need to be surprised about that. But it's just a question of busting through in front of the gonzen, if you know what I mean. And then, of course, after that, just in a relaxed way, always being ready. Not tense. Should I speak to that person? Should I speak to this person? I don't think I will. Yes, I will. No, I won't. Yes, I will. Not like that. Just in a relaxed way. If you're really chanting for it, it'll come to you. Okay. All right.
Brenda.
But it seemed to be a good idea. I think it was about something to do with nuclear war. It was one of those things, how we all, how everybody nuclear applications. And it seems to be a good idea, and I think that to try and get somebody from our area, we try to get the United Nations uploaded. And what happened from that was that I started to shakabuku our local priest. And
what, Roman Catholic?
No.
Oh.
I don't know. His father
Church of Ealing.
Yes.
curate.
Yes.
And my aunt, who I decided my practice in the house, my aunt was the third part of the church. This comes to the house a lot. He's zipping in and out, going to work. And quite actually, I struck on friendship with him. And this thing came out and I said, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to invite him to meet him. So I had guidance about it, this trip with him. I tried to find him about it. And I wrote him a letter, really sincerely, hoping he would understand. And I sort of mentioned it a bit, but I thought what I was going to do actually was getting down on what it was about. I decided that wasn't really on, so I thought I might write him a letter and explain what I did. It's a good letter, which I gave him. And I saw him after the meeting, and I thought he was good to come because he had voice music. It was something, but he did express great interest, however, and so I determined that I would keep him in my interest after him. But however, what's come up as a conflict, I feel guilty about trying to shakabuku with the priest. And I can't understand why. Part of me, because it seems natural to want to shakabuku in that sense, want to practice, but he seems to be such a good man. He's doing a lot of good in his community. Torn between my desire to leave him alone as he's doing good, but my desire for him to know about Buddhism.
Yeah, well, I think the truth is that you no need to feel guilty, because of course the final decision is his anyway, even if it came to the point of him making a final decision. But I think the truth is that through understanding Buddhism, he will be an even better curate. That is to say, it will deepen his understanding about life. So, for example, there's a gentleman, he's a doctor in South Wales, who he's not actually practicing at this moment. He did practice for about a year, and he was a lay preacher in the Methodist Church. But he said, to his great interest, his sermons were so much better on Sundays if he chanted Daimoku beforehand. And then, another example is a minister who I met in Tokyo. He was just visiting Japan. But he was married to a Japanese wife, and she had always practiced Buddhism. And eventually, she'd really persuaded him to begin to practice. So he was still administering his church. I think, again, it was a Methodist. And he was practicing Buddhism fully, doing Gongyo and everything. So he also said that it had awakened his mind so much more to life, that the depth of what he was saying or what he was preaching was much more valuable and useful. But he also said, of course I understand, he said, that someday I can't continue this duality forever. Someday I'll reach a point where I have to make the decision whether I give up, my whole living as a lay preacher, and not a lay preacher, he was a professional one, whether I give up my living doing that and go over to Buddhism or not. So he was clear on that point. I think so. Right. I think so. I think that's the one. Probably, yes. Deep inside you, maybe, still, you're a bit worried about the wrath of God. So I don't think you need worry, as long as you are compassionate, if you see that he's reaching a point where he's getting agitated because this is shaking him up so much, then you must use your compassion and good sense, not push him to a point where if he's decided that he wants to continue as a Christian, you must then, let him get on with it. No, of course not. Definitely not, because it can't. That's right. It can't fail to be good for him. So I think you just have to take each step as it goes. Probably if he is interested, he said he's interested, so feed his interest. If he gets to a point where he said, I don't want any more, then you can try. But if he still says no, chant Daimoku about it, and really ask for the wisdom whether it's right to pursue it or not. Yes, of course, that's right, yeah. Okay.
Probably the final question. I want a men's division, please.
Gosh, already?
No men's division have asked a question yet. Phil.
I just sort of like to say thank you both of you for being able to be
That's all right.
And also, I've got a spare room in St. Basically, I'm feeling this today and yesterday, I'm feeling quite frightened about going back to Stanton and what I have to do, what I feel a person has to do in town. I'm worried that I'm going to reach, as I think I've spoken about, that there's going to be a talk in 2 weeks' time. That's going to be like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I know I'm going to be on it. And suddenly that plummet down. And I just, as you know, the problems and very difficult to be handled. I feel a lot of this feeling on this course that I have a long last time realised that I have a responsibility in that town to do something. And I just really need to know how I can continue. I mean, you're the model for me, in my practice, but because I very rarely see you, I don't sort of know. You're just starting to feel, and I'd like to sort of, although we're separate individuals, I feel like I would like to, I wish that I could be in a lot of ways how you express your faith, And I mean, I've had all sorts of questions coming at me, and you're there all the time. I feel that you're there all the time, there's no hesitation, and I feel that ideally you express how you should practice faith, and I feel that I would like to do that myself, and I'd look for an insight into how you will, when you do this course, how you will approach. You know, you can do that
Well, okay. I mean, take my own, for myself, my personal self, the driving force behind me has always been Kosen Rufu. I really believe in it, the depths of my life. But you see, my life is different to your life. With other people, the driving force for a time may be the benefits they get. Or with other people, the driving force may really be to attain Buddhahood. But in the first few years of my practice, the driving force was Kosen Rufu. Because I'd been through, I'd been brought up in an atmosphere of war. So, the more my life went on, the more I desired to do something of some help to change the world so that people could overcome that tendency. So really, Kosen Rufu was very easy for me to relate to, for that reason. So you see, no life may be the same. I mean, it's no good you thinking really about me being a model, because you have to discover what it is, you can most believe in.
I accept the difference, it's just there's the power which I feel comes to me which I feel like I don't have. I'm aware that there's everyone here expresses their own individuality, but we have to, I feel we can look to sense that in and understand what
yes, but I think what you're really saying, anyway, this is what I'm going to really say in reply. I think the point is that you will not get anywhere with this practice unless you're following what Nichiren Daishonin said and practicing for yourself and others. Definitely, that is the only way to advance the human revolution, to obtain benefit, everything, is practice for yourself and practice for others. So if you find it difficult to practice for others, then that's really something you have to work on, isn't it, with your daimoku. You have to ask for the power, the compassion, everything to enable you to practice for others. So, of course, a life based on practice for oneself and practice for others is very natural. It is the natural, balanced way of life. But many of us, because of our karma, haven't got that balance. So then you have to really work at it to get it. So how you get it, of course, depends on your own personal circumstances and your own environment and so on. So one way, is to of course go around with your eyes open. There must be people who are unhappy and suffering in your neighborhood. The problem with all of us, really, in a way, is that it's very easy to walk around with blinkers on. We never notice. We can go and buy a packet of cigarettes every morning at the same shop, and we hardly notice the old lady that's serving us. Maybe if she was a very glamorous, pretty girl, we would.
We would.
But this is fearful, isn't it, when one thinks about it? That every single day, someone is providing a service, and we never even look at them. This is the truth, isn't it? Then you go to work, you probably take the workmates for granted, you don't really look at them either. I'm not saying you, I'm talking generally. We just don't take in our environment. If we did take it in, then quite naturally, unless we were the most callous people on earth, quite naturally some feeling would arise in us towards that environment. I wish I could do something about it to change it, or I wish I could do something for that person. She looks so wretched every day I see her, or whatever. So I think the whole trouble is that, most of us are blinkered. That's the problem. So how can we unblinker ourselves? So of course, the first important point is to acknowledge that that is the problem. Yes, it's really true. When I think about it, I am blinkered. And then, of course, to chant, to really begin to embrace your environment. And it's not easy to do, of course. Because everything in your life that's negative will be saying, I don't want to do it. Or you just completely forget about it after making an effort 1 day or 2 days. So the best way to make sure that it continues is to, really to chant Daimoku every day, or to put it in the fourth prayer every day, until in the end it becomes a matter of course to one, to take in and consider one's environment. It's very difficult to do. But with the power of Daimoku, and the Ichinen, which in some way we've got to keep fresh in our minds, we can do it. So then, if we're working and living our lives in that way, the people who really need the Gohonzon will somehow just cross our paths. Somehow we will find ourselves talking to them. So I think not long ago I said it was like being a wise farmer. A wise farmer has to really look at all his crops very carefully. He has to see, the points and catch the diseases before they go too far. He has to consider the weather in relation to those crops, what he should do to protect them if necessary, and so on. We really should be wise farmers in our environment. But in fact, many of us are completely blind to it. So why are we blind? Of course, because of what we were talking about first Gosho Lecture, Bonno. We're absorbed by the delusion that, our own this and that, personal problems, are the only thing in the world we should be concerned with. So in a way you could say Buddhism is trying to wrench you out of that way of life. It's trying to pull you out of that way of only being absorbed with yourself, and really sort of almost forcing one to practice or live for others as well. Because that is the natural, perfect, harmonious, progressive way of living. And, most human beings, not just you, most human beings are off balance. They're concerned because of the three poisons in life with themselves. So actually, I noted down here just a paragraph which I'll read because it comes quite neatly in here, which Sensei said in his lecture right here in the circus tent on the grass over there 1 year ago. He said, new members often take faith because they want to solve their problems or fulfill their desires. This is perfectly reasonable. However, if you read the Daishonin's writings more deeply, you will understand that this is not the ultimate reason for faith. Of course, because of the Gonzon's immense power, we can enjoy great benefits, even though our motives may still be shallow. However, in order to fully enjoy the Gonzon's greatest benefit, it's necessary to arouse a genuine determination to attain Buddhahood. Work for Kosen Rufu as followers of Nichiren Daishonin and live up to our mission of those following the way of the Bodhisattvas of the earth. This is the ideal of how faith should be. I would also like to make it clear that if you pray for Kosen Rufu and practice both for yourself and others, all your individual prayers will be answered and you will find full satisfaction in life. So, gradually, one way or the other, because we practice the Gohonzon, in the end, all at different stages, depending on our karma, on how hard we practice, all sorts of different factors, but in the end, we all are led to that point where we really understand that happiness lies in practicing for ourselves and others. Really, this is the fact. And of course, he's saying here, rather in a way what I was saying the other day, that the reason for this deep down is that deep down we are bodhisattvas of the earth, whether we like it or not. That is our true purpose in life. Therefore, deep in our subconscious, unless we are fulfilling that, we shall always feel something's not quite right about our lives. This is the truth of it. So however much surface happiness we may manage to grasp, pleasures which are transit, really, always, just lasting for an hour or two and that's all. In the end, there's something gnawing away inside us, a sort of question mark or a sort of feeling of uncertainty, a sort of feeling we're not fulfilling ourselves. And that is because we're bodhisattvas of the earth and we're still not really achieving that balance between practice for yourself and practice for others. So this is incredible, important thing, but on the other hand, in its own way, the Gohonzon always brings people to it in the end. That's the marvelous thing about it. So we may discover it on a course like this, or we may discover it in front of our own Gohonzon, we may discover it through talking to a friend who's practicing, all sorts of different ways. But in the end, we will discover it because that's the only way to be happy. And Nam-myoho Renge Kyo can only work for happiness, therefore it's always leading one towards that. So then Sensei went on to say, I would also like to make it clear that if you pray for Kosen Rufu and practice both for yourself and others, all your individual prayers will be answered and you will find full satisfaction in life. So the truth is that what is for Kosen Rufu and what is for your happiness are always absolutely together. The deep reason for that is because you're a bodhisattva of the earth. The two are absolutely together, or run absolutely parallel. This is the truth about it all. So therefore, if you're really chanting for Kosen Rufu in some way, that may be to shakabuku somebody, or for the growth of your group or district, or for the next activity, or for the World Peace Expo, whatever. At the same time, because you're chanting for Kosen Rufu, everything you need for your happiness will come. So the important thing, so far as ourselves are concerned, in the end, is to really chant about those weaknesses or failings in our lives that we want to change in order to overcome the workings of the three poisons and advance our lives to another step towards Buddhahood. So I often say, Sensei's guidance on that point, because it's very graphic. He said that these weaknesses and failings that are in us are just like snakes lurking in the shadows of our lives. In other words, we avoid looking at them. We try not to see them. Probably in our minds we know they're there, but we don't want to tackle them. So those are the things, as one becomes aware of them, those are the things that we need to really, put out a hand and grasp them by the neck and really plant them in front of, or in the center of our lives, in front of the Gohonzon, and challenge them with our Daimokkun. So of course, to begin with, we don't see all the snakes even. So it comes back to the four powers. Power of faith and power of practice activates the power of the Buddha and the power of the law. So through the power of the Buddha and power of the law, we shall gradually see these various snakes that are lying around in our lives. And furthermore, because those four powers work exactly in relation to each other, we will never see a snake so big that we can't tackle it. Always we see our karma, when we are able to cope with it, because of the relation between the power of faith and practice and the power of the Buddha and the law. So we never need fear. But what is important is that those snakes which we really know are there, that we try to avoid looking at, we really have to, through our daimoku, as it were, grasp them and bring them out. Then Sensei said, you put a snake in the sunlight and it'll run away. They hate the sunlight. They like the shadows lurking away under stones and things. So of course that's the sunlight of the Gohon's, to really challenging that weakness, that snake in one's life, you can overcome it. So I hope that, makes, of course there's nothing wrong with chanting for something you need. But in quite a natural way, in the end, those things become not so important to one as actually changing one's own life. And prayers for Kosanufu, Sensei said, prayers for others really will bring everything you need for your happiness. So it's like getting ourselves to bust out of that narrow straitjacket of our own delusions and our own desires, isn't it? Important as they are, really trying to view life on a wider scale, I think. Okay. Great. Thanks very much, Phil. Your question just led beautifully into what I wanted to say.
So I said I'm afraid. Close the meeting down.
One thing I just wanted to say, I quite forgot to tell you that when we were here last summer, someone asked Sensei why, because it was Sensei who decided or suggested that the European Centre should be within 30 kilometres of Marseille, or was it 30 miles? And no one understood why he said that. Anyway, last summer, someone asked him, and he said that the reason why he said that was that one of Mr. Toda's favourite books was The Count of Monte Cristo. Anyone know it? Anyway, The Count of Monte Cristo, as you know, the Chateau d'If, which is where he was imprisoned, is actually on a small island in Marseille harbour. And a lot of the book is set in this part of the world. And Mr. Toda loved this book very much and had a vivid feeling for